And as we saw and heard earlier, there are many people joining us today who have a lived experience of cancer and their carers. And these stories are so important in helping us and rare cancers to understand and prioritise the work that needs to happen next. So this session, we're going to hear more about what it's really like for people who have a rare cancer and their carers. The Cancer Lived Experience Survey has given us, really for the first time, a national view of the experience of people with rare cancers and their carers. And it's really shone a light on whether they're getting the support that they need. We'll look at issues like whether personalised treatments and care are being realised or whether the structures and systems are holding us back. We'll hear about innovation that's paving the way for better care for people with rare cancers in Australia, and how New South Wales hospitals are using patient-reported outcomes and experiences to really shift and improve clinical practice. And we'll also hear about the greatest potential lies, where that lies for emerging therapies. Asking someone to share their experience and insight is so important, yet so often it's forgotten. But we and at Rare Cancers will not forget the experiences that everyone shared in the report. We will always make it personal and bring it back to the person and their support network. And that's what we're going to do now. And don't worry about the bells again, that's just for the politicians. Our next speaker is Kevin MacIsaac, and he brings a deeply personal experience to healthcare. He's spent years navigating the complexity of the health system, balancing advocacy, caregiving, work, and family life while supporting his wife Caitlin, who is living with advanced ovarian cancer. And I'm sure many of you know Caitlin. She's spoken at many of the Rare Cancers events. She's in the audience. I think we should give Caitlin a little round of applause. Woo! And I was very, 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 very gratified to see on Caitlin's most recent LinkedIn post that her treatment is going well. A treatment that she's having to self-fund, unfortunately, but at least it is making a difference, and for that we're very, very happy. So Kevin's insight as a partner and a carer will really highlight the unseen emotional cost, the strain, and the quiet resilience that goes on behind the scenes in supporting someone living with cancer. Please give a big welcome to Kevin MacIsaac.
Thank you all. Thank you all for having me. I'm very, very grateful to be here. I'm very grateful to be on Ngunnawal country. As a Brit, it's very important to me to acknowledge the country that I'm on. As a child growing up in Scotland, I saw Australia, and in particular the Sydney Opera House, as otherworldly and aspirational. So when 8 years ago I stood with a sword in my hand, reciting Shakespeare, slaying Richard III in a Bell Shakespeare show to be performed in that iconic building, I felt lucky and profoundly grateful. I was 34 years old with two beautiful daughters, thanks to the woman of my dreams, who you've heard something about and will continue to hear about. There they all are. When we met in London in 2008, I told her I was a successful actor from just near Glasgow. She told me she was from near Sydney, the outer Sydney suburb of Wollongong. Now, being back in the theatre, performing, was a very, very welcome reconnection back to my tribe, because I'd lost my mother the year before, in 2016, in Sydney, due to multiple failures within the healthcare system. I thought how proud she would have been to see me perform at the Opera House, happy and healing. And that's when I got the phone call from my wife, the phone call that upended our lives. So my wife, Caitlin Delaney, will be known to many of you. She hasn't been very quiet about her stage 4 clear cell ovarian cancer diagnosis. From day one in February 2017, when she was just 39 years old, she's been a vocal advocate for her Teal sisters, for those in various ways less fortunate than we are, and for herself in accessing non-standard treatments. She has spoken with incumbent and incoming prime ministers. She now sits on myriad boards and committees focusing on patient advocacy and healthcare education. I am quieter about the whole affair. I'm Mr. Caitlin. Or to quote one of my heroes, I'm just Kev. I do not relish the role of carer or advocate that I have to play every minute of every day. Today is my birthday. Thank you for not singing the song. I don't have enough time. Well, really, please, I did very little work. It was all my mother's doing, so thank her. I should today be at home with my family, but instead I'm at the big house, asking to be seen on behalf of the rare cancer carers around the country and in this room, and for the sake of my wife and daughters who may yet one day face the same medical hurdles with the same disease as their mother. But I am grateful to be here today, to be asked to share this story with you. And it's a story that I've heard a couple of times since arriving here yesterday, so I'm sorry for the repetition. My presentation is about the carers primarily, because if you want to look after the garden, it helps to look after the gardener. And the RCA report highlights that 80% of carers experience emotional strain, yet only 20% report receiving counselling or psychological support. I'm in over my head. My wife is health and science literate. However, I'm an actor. I mean, I've played a doctor. But I'm not going to convince any of you in this room with that stolen scrubs. However, I'm frequently asked to research treatments, to compare clinical trials, to explore options overseas that may be unavailable or impossible to access in Australia. Research papers give hope, then just as quickly dash them with a PFS of 3 months. Or we realize that the data might not apply because her cancer is rare and her particular pathology is excluded. Like many carers, I have become the amateur navigator advising on care, hunting for reliable information because current pathways for rare cancers, as you heard from Matt Brown, are fragmented at best. I have to be across the emerging science in genomics, be aware of drug interactions and contraindications, and help Caitlin decide on the best possible course of action. I wish I'd been given as many movie scripts as I have e-scripts. All right, you don't like humour. I get it. I won't do it again. All of this study that I have to do, all of this learning, and yet I'm often excluded from clinical conversations. I'm under-recognized by healthcare systems, and I remain unsupported financially and emotionally, despite shouldering an extraordinary burden every day. I go to many appointments with Caitlin. Some clinicians ignore me or don't make eye contact for the duration of the consult, and then later I'm asked to recall the name of that PDL1 or the topoisomerase or the VEGF inhibitor or the name of the scientist developing the CAR-NK treatment in Japan, because Caitlin will forget because of a drug-induced brain fog. And the RCA report shows that I'm not alone in this. Carers are too often sidelined. Only 30% say they were involved in treatment decisions. When we ask clinicians, what would you do if it was your wife or daughter? We get very different answers from the standard offerings. Options open up magically, which may include expensive off-label drugs or hard-to-find trials. We ask, hey, if money was not an issue, what would you do? And this invites discussion about the best-in-class treatments targeted, the kind that we have since found and funded and are responsible for Caitlin being here today. I believe that every option should be visible and made available to every family, every time. Pause for applause. I like it when it's unprompted like that. Like, every day I support my wife physically and emotionally. And I never know what's going to be expected of me, what I have to be an expert on. I've had to inject her with Clexane, anticoagulants, to alleviate the life-threatening blood clots in her neck. Another day I might have to measure up her CBD oil and cut pills surgically in half. I might be awoken by the sound of her agonized screaming, then rub magnesium cream on her calves and feet when spasms and cramps at 2 a.m. feel like they'll never cease. I measure her blood pressure, her oxygen saturation, I monitor her resting heart rate, and I use AI to log and analyze her bloods and symptoms. But when it tells me to escalate, that the numbers are either dangerously too high or too low, I'm often at a loss for what to do. We must avoid A&E. One time we even drove back home after a 1-hour wait with my immunocompromised patient in a waiting room of bile, urine, bloodied body parts, and inebriated, vomit-tainted strangers. Last year, I drove her regularly to a clinical trial centre far from home. She couldn't drive because she was almost blinded by the toxicity of the drug. The first cycle of her current treatment, TDXD, hit her so hard that she was adamant she wouldn't have another one. And our eldest daughter, 12 years old, asked me privately, "Does this mean Mum's giving up?" No, we never give up. And while navigating the system with Caitlin, for Caitlin, we are also parenting two amazing, demanding and expensive daughters. And there's a huge emotional burden on them, of course, as they see their mum sick, and they see their dad stressed and stretched very thin, but the system doesn't account for them. RCA notes that caring disrupts education and family life with ripple effects across the whole household. Our family does work, but with limited capacity, limited knowledge, and limited resources. I also have to pay my own bills, unrelated to cancer, but deeply complicated by it. I'm self-employed. I have a highly variable income for those 4 days a year when I work as an actor. And I'm told that marrying a toy boy actor 5 years your junior is quite the trophy until you get cancer. So I work as an executive coach and trainer when I'm not acting. And even when work is available to me, it often has to be dropped at a moment's notice when Caitlin's health deteriorates. And this limits my income and progress, of course, as people assume that I'm unavailable, I'm unreliable, or I'm simply off the radar for opportunities. Which brings me to finances. Families with rare cancers face staggering costs. Yet we fall through every crack of the social safety net. The report shows that 59% of people with rare cancers and their families said that their personal finances were impacted. So as I said, Caitlin's current treatment is TDXD. It's a potent antibody drug conjugate. It targets her tumour's HER2 expression. Many of you will know this. For now, it is keeping her stable. And after 2 cycles, it has reduced her CA125 tumour marker by 73%. Working out the percentage was a nightmare, but 73%. Her lung metastases are stalled or shrinking. There are no new tumours, and all lymph nodes are currently stable. Now, TDXD is PBS subsidized. For the woman with a HER2 positive metastatic breast cancer sitting in the chemo chair next to us, but not for ovarian cancer, which is why we pay $10,000 every 3 weeks. You heard that right? Every 3-week cycle costs us a small family car. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the woman. But that's $478 a day, right? And it's uncapped. There's no compassionate access. So pharma people in the room, you do have some work to do to meet us halfway for the data that we're giving you. It's 30 cents a minute, incidentally, if you want to know. And to keep her alive through this presentation cost us $5. Caitlin doesn't work anymore. Lazy. And I'm severely limited in the work that I can do, and the 20 pages of Centrelink applications that I did manage to fill out last month has resulted in a carer's allowance of $159 a fortnight. So we turn to our beautiful friends and family, our amazing community, to raise funds for treatment. The same people, time and again, empty their pockets so Caitlin can see our young daughters reach the milestones that the rest of us take for granted. Now, equity is not about everyone getting the same. It's about everyone getting what they need to reach the same outcome. So which of you here in this room today wants to help me explain to our children that they deserve less time with their mother because her cancer is rare? Perhaps there's a policymaker in the room, in this great hall, who can help me beg for donations, because our family cancer subtype doesn't have the data or the numbers, which a rare cancer never will, to justify a PBS listing. I note no hands shooting up in the air. So as our children watch television, Caitlin and I whisper. We whisper about the cost versus benefit of keeping her alive. We talk about wills and estate planning, Caitlin's stifling coughing fits, and weighing up voluntary assisted dying as a financial instrument to safeguard the girl's future. No parent should have to do that, to decide whether to ring-fence money for their children's future or to spend it on life-extending drugs. There we go, we're lucky. I'm in a lucky country. And I keep hearing this from the stories from Lauren last night, from Natalie today. Aren't we lucky? And that's what we do. We polish that turd, don't we? And look for the good in it. And yet we are lucky. We live within 10 minutes of Caitlin's treating hospital, this superb Chris O'Brien Lifehouse in Sydney's Inner West. We're pragmatic, we're literate, and we're able, and we are lucky to have a supportive community and access to platforms like Can Forum to advocate for change. We're lucky to be in Australia, living in the Prime Minister's constituency in Marrickville, where I can walk to get an X-ray within 10 minutes. In contrast, my dad, now back in Scotland and managing prostate cancer, is waiting 6 weeks for an X-ray. We're lucky to have Associate Professor Judith Lacey, who will speak to you later about her work in integrative and supportive oncology, which we benefit from and can attest to. I should say, when Judith recently went on a very well-earned holiday, that's when Caitlin almost ceased treatment. Such is the importance of supportive care from clinicians like Judith. We need to clone her or train more people like her, because every cancer patient deserves a supportive care framework and a doctor available to them like our Judith. I'm aware my time's over. I'm nearly done, I promise. I'll have you out of here by 7. However, I may be luckier as a carer elsewhere. I think I've got a photograph here as well, just to prove that I am a proud Australian, so don't send me back home, please. But if I was still in Scotland, I would benefit from the Scotland Carers Act, which mandates a personalised adult carer support plan. Or the UK's Macmillan Cancer Support, which offers carer coordinators who liaise directly with carers and clinicians. In England, as we've heard so much about today, Caitlin would now be offered genomic testing as standard at diagnosis, rather than facing the too rare to matter syndrome or the one-size-fits-all approach which she faced here 8 years ago. Now, I cannot believe that in Australia you're happy to trail in anything to the English. Just a word on genomics, if I may. Had we had better genomic screening and information at diagnosis, Caitlin would have discovered her ATM mutation and her high HRD score, which today would indicate benefit from a PARP inhibitor, which could have prevented a recurrence in the first place. Her recent genetic testing of tumour tissue showed that the IPI-NIVO immunotherapy regime that we spent $70,000 on earlier this year was unlikely to have any positive effect at all. And we know that because she progressed on it and was very sick in the process. Now, that's not just emotionally crushing, that is economically devastating, and it is bad science. Genomic testing provides timely, critical information which should be fully funded and expedited to everyone every time. Targeting genetics rather than the location of an initial tumour saves lives, and we need a pan-tumour approach where we recognize efficacy for proven and safe drugs. Now, denying people access to these drugs based on where their cancer is located is as arbitrary in 2025 as deciding by postcode or the patient's favourite colour. We've spent around $200,000 on treatments not listed on the PBS. You saw the numbers earlier. It's closer to $1 million, all things considered. We spent around $60,000 for a drug I'm not supposed to name. It rhymes with Metruda. And lenvatinib. Now, this combination kept Caitlin stable for 2.5 years. Unfortunately, we know that this drug recently was rejected by the PBAC for a funding proposal 8 years in the making. I'm not going to go on about that. It's been mentioned already. It would have been free for all Australians who need it. Now, we're devastated that other families don't get that same opportunity. They're not able to benefit from it the same way that we did. Families like mine, we do not want special treatment. We want fair treatment for everyone. A system that is person-centred and where hope doesn't depend on the size of your credit card. Now, what's possible would be a nice way to end. I've had to rewrite this based on what I heard today, because it's clear that we've already got the solutions in this room. So failure to act is clearly a choice that's being made. I'll make this brief. To paraphrase a well-known slogan, JFDI, just do it. There's lots we can do. We can involve carers like me. We can shorten the time it takes to access genomic testing, clinical trials, off-label treatments. You know all this. It's costing people money. It's costing us time. It's time that we don't have. People are dying while we chat about it more or consult more. What I saw today was phenomenal presentations telling us very clearly we have the data, the justification. Can someone press go? Sorry, I'm not nervous, I'm angry. We could choose to formally integrate carers into care teams, include us and patients in MDTs, provide access for carers to psychosocial support, maybe even train clinicians to ask, what does the primary caregiver need? We could choose to set up navigators and access hubs that would help people like me work out trials, testing, second opinions, and support services, and access them fast when we need them. We could choose a national rare cancer carer income protection package. I won't list all the things that would do because I'm 6 minutes over. That's outrageous. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Sophie. What we really need now is better data. Can we get on with the job of delivering the National Cancer Data Framework so that rare cancers like Caitlin's are visible? If we don't measure them, we cannot fix them. Genomic-led care. Can we put genomics first and not last? Caitlin's on her 14th line of treatment now. Now we get to explore genomics. It should be front and centre. If her genetic profile had been identified earlier, we would not have wasted $70,000 on treatment destined to fail. Can we get faster, fairer access to medicines? Reform the HTA? How long has it been sitting on the desk now? Can we just do it, please? It is inequitable that TDXD is free for breast cancer, but $10,000 per cycle every 3 weeks for ovarian cancer. Beyond treatment, can we fund navigation, a national patient survey, specialist support? I am overlooked by the system currently, and I am wafer thin as a result of it. And I carry an exceptional daily burden, believe me. I worry about my family's future, minute by minute. 40,000 Australians are diagnosed with a rare or less common cancer every year. It doesn't sound that rare to me. It sounds like we need to do something about it. Now, behind every one of those people with cancer is a carer or a family with a story that sounds remarkably similar to mine. The RCA report shows us that carers are overwhelmed. We are under-supported and often invisible, but we are essential to patient outcomes. So for us, it's personal. Thank you for your time and patience. Thank you.